Hey folks, welcome to another real estate conversation with Kevin and Andrew. Today we're chatting about what our buyers are doing if they are looking for a lower interest rate. Andrew's been taking a lot of clients out to new construction communities. In fact, we've probably sold 6 or 7 new build homes in the last few months. And Andrew, what incentives are you seeing out there in these new construction communities for home buyers?
Hey, Kevin, great question. A lot of these incentives are the 3-2-1 buy down. So right now, first year looking at 3.99, second year 4.99, and the remaining at 5.99 of the balance of the loan. They're not only just doing that, but they're helping new buyers buy down their closing costs, help with incentives, help with lot premiums. These new builds are great incentives for people, and they have great offers for someone that it wants a lower interest rate and not have to come up with a lot at the table to pay for their closing costs.
That's great information. A lot of folks that we're talking to right now are asking the question, should we wait until interest rates are lower? Is it the right time to buy in the market? And I'll say what I say to them. Right now, is it the right time to buy? The answer to that is a very personal question. Are you in a position financially to buy? Can you make a payment on to a house that you want to buy, you're excited to buy today? Can you make that payment work for you and your budget? If the answer to that is yes, then it's a good time for you to get into the market and purchase. Now, if you're on the sidelines and you're hoping that interest rates are going to go down and you're wanting, hey, I want to get a 3% rate, aside from following and looking for one of these new construction communities that's, out in Queen Creek or some of these other various areas, the East Valley here, the likelihood of the standard rate going down to that 3% range, I don't believe that that's very likely right now. And here's why. The reason rates got down to 3% is something called quantitative easing. And what was happening is the Federal Reserve was purchasing mortgage-backed securities and government bonds, and they were using printed money essentially to buy bonds. When there is more investment money looking for a yield, buying a bond, the bond yield goes down. And those rates were kept artificially low for over a decade after the 2008 financial crisis. And then into COVID, there was quite a lot of financial stimulus hitting the market. And so we had extremely low interest rates and a lot of currency in the system available. So that led to, obviously, asset price inflation. The values of properties went up in the dollar denomination, and we had low interest rates. And so it created this, insane pressure. And obviously, after that, we had that wave of inflation. And obviously, the government does not want to have higher levels of inflation moving forward. With that being said, and taking all of that into consideration, there is a new chair of the Federal Reserve that will be taking that position in April of 2026, and he is a more pro-low interest rate guy. Now, are they going to go back to full-on quantitative easing? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not going to make predictions for what is actually going to happen in the real estate market. But I will say that if he is favorable to low interest rates, there is a possibility that that could happen. I never advise anyone to buy a home based on the hopes of refinancing in the future. I say if you can afford the payment today at today's interest rate, and it makes sense for your family to be in this home, this neighborhood, and it's a good financial decision for you, let's move forward. Let's do that. But if your plan is to buy a property on a temporary buy down and then have hope as a strategy that the rates are going to be lower at the time that the buy down expires and that you're wanting to refinance at that point in time, I don't want someone to make a purchase with that in mind as their plan. So we always advise folks to make prudent, sound financial decisions. And then when they look up in 10 years after purchasing a home in 2036, which is even weird to say, the year 2036, if they look up and 2036 and they purchased a home in 2026, they're going to have built significant home equity. The property is likely to be worth more than it is today with the influx of businesses and capital investment into the Phoenix metro market. It is now a major market within the United States, and we forecast continued growth in our marketplace. But it's going to be more steady trajectory as opposed to this wild fluctuation that we have seen in the past.
Hey, Kevin, I had a question for you. So some of the resale homes people are looking at buying, are there opportunities out there to get the closing costs paid for?
Yeah, absolutely. When we are structuring a deal and negotiating on behalf of a client for a resale purchase, a lot of times we are getting the sellers to give concessions to not only cover the buyer brokerage fees, but also to cover closing costs. And so the buyer is typically, in many circumstances, only coming in with their down payment, and we're able to offset the closing costs that they have to originate the loan, any buyer representation fees, and all of that kind of stuff. And so the buyers are only coming in with their down payment. That does happen pretty consistently. I would say 70% of the transactions that we are representing buyers on these days, there are some concessions involved in that process, and sellers are still willing to give concessions. Now, obviously, if it's a competitive home, a competitive situation, the stronger the offer, the better. And so that's a case by case scenario that we would break down with our client if we found ourselves in that situation. Because the best homes out there are still properties that do get multiple offers, and your favorite house is likely someone else's favorite house, and that still applies. So the bottom line here is that if you are considering a home purchase in 2026, reach out to us. Let's have a conversation about what makes sense for your budget and your lifestyle, and see if we can make the numbers work for you to take action in 2026.